Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 9. My name is Sunshine Boy. My name is syndereN. How's it going, syndereN? This is sponsored by Noble Chairs. That's the only thing you can understand from this intro. syndereN, how are you doing?
Dude, what kind of garbage intro was that? I'm good. I just came home last night, but I got some good rest.
Wow.
And you can't even tell that I was gone, right? Like I'm just emanating energy, you know?
syndereN, I am so happy for you. You know, there's nothing that you've ever told me that I've been more happy about than that. So thank you for sharing.
Very nice.
Okay, so
do you like
as
my
always,
shirt?
friends, I do. You don't
Guys
wear
who
polos
listen on
very
audio?
often.
Guys on audio, I'm wearing a polo. We can turn this into like you guys can like imagine what I look like.
What kind of blue is that?
I don't actually
Sky
know.
blue.
Yeah, I suppose it's called sky blue.
What's the special occasion?
It was accessible in my closet.
Okay, that sounds about right. All right, so moving on to more important things other than syndereN's attire. As always, this podcast is available on Apple, Google, Spotify, every random-ass podcast app you can think of. Typically, and I'm going to say typically now, the schedule for this podcast is Tuesdays at 2 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. CST. We are changing this starting next week, syndereN. You've agreed to this, if you remember?
Understood.
You
Yes,
might have
sir.
been drunk at the time. Okay. So the new schedule, same day, Tuesdays, but I will be waking up in the afternoon, or literal noon, in fact. It'll be 12 p.m., a.k.a. noon PDT, and CEST, it is 21, which I believe is 9 p.m., syndereN.
That is very true. Good job.
Great. So that will be the new schedule going forward. We're just trying to test things out, just see how it goes. You know, just get a little love from everybody. Every time zone gets some love.
And you're going to be uploading it immediately after, as usual. So, yep.
So
the live
audio,
one will be 12 hours later, and the upload will be 12 hours later, and that's it.
Yeah, than it is now. Correct.
Oh, no, sorry,
By
not 12.
10 hours.
10 hours.
10 hours.
Yeah. Let's not
Very
get that wrong.
good. Good math, syndereN. All right.
Thank you.
Anywho, let's get started. You said you got back. Where were you again? Because I didn't get to watch anything you did.
I was in Ukraine. I was in Kiev for the minor,
Yes, yes.
the Starladder Minor. And it
Can
was a great
you-
experience. It was fun.
How is the, not to, talk about random ass stuff. I'm actually interested. What's the weather like this time of year? Because I've only gone twice, and it was both in the dead of winter, and I really wanted to kill myself. It was horrible.
All right, time to...
The weather, that is.
All right.
Are you doing conversions?
Yep, I am. You know
Give
I
me
am.
that imperial system, baby.
Yeah,
Or
fantastic.
is that imperial? That's not considered the same thing, is it? It's just
I don't know.
Fahrenheit, Celsius.
Okay, so basically all days over there, it was 86 Fahrenheit, so 30 Celsius every day.
What about humidity?
I don't know how humid it was.
86.
It was pretty dry. It was dry for the most part. Like
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what the humidity percentage.
Would you
be, but not
consider
very
that
high.
weather that you enjoy, or is it a little too hot for you?
I like if it's a bit colder.
Okay. Just to give you guys an idea, for those that don't know, where I am right now, it's 110 degrees.
Oh my god! Hang on, let me translate.
But it's
But
zero
It's dry heat.
zero humidity, syndereN. Literally zero. Okay.
I think so. Based on my experience, I find 40 Celsius, which is like 105 or whatever, dry heat more tolerable than 30 Celsius, which is like 85, and high humidity.
Right.
The humidity is what kills me. It's not the heat itself. So,
Is that the hottest
and that's
you've
why
ever been
the
in?
Manila Major was a disaster
Oh,
because it
dude,
was
that
both.
Ooh. You
It was
walk outside, your
insufferable.
glasses fog up immediately. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I didn't wear glasses anymore then, but my hands felt like they needed washing after a moment. It was crazy.
What do you mean? They wash
Yeah.
themselves outside. That's the whole point of humidity. So you don't need to
Yeah.
wash your hands anymore.
That's not really how it works.
Wait. Okay, before we can, I need to know, what's the hottest weather you've been in? Is that the hottest then?
That's the most uncomfortable weather I've ever been in.
All right,
I
the
think
literal
it's maybe
highest
been
temperature
hotter. Might have been at BTS.
Really,
At
California?
one of the
Ooh.
hubs in Cali. Yeah, because I've never been. Have I been anywhere that is generally hotter than Cali? I don't think so. I
You've
don't
never
remember
visited
exactly how
me.
hot it was in the Philippines. I think it was like 105 when we were there, but I think I've had 110 plus at BTS once or twice in the summer TI hubs.
It's actually more humid in California than it is Arizona too. So it does feel a little
It
bit
was still
different.
very dry, though. It must have been like sub 5% humidity when I was there. It was very dry.
Okay, so anyway, back to what we were talking about. Starladder. How was it?
Yep. Well, it was nice. I met 2 new people in terms of talent that I've never worked with before. Rich and Tsunami. They were both great. Tsunami is very chill, very zen. Just a nice
Mm-hmm.
guy. Doesn't mean he's like plain. He's not, but he's not like over. He's not like your very. What's the word for this? Flamboyant? Is that a good word for that?
That's not a good word.
Okay. What's a good word for the
I mean,
same thing? You know what I mean?
He's not as lively.
That almost sounds like he's just dead inside. Like, I mean, okay. Well, you get the idea. I can't find the right word for it.
Okay.
He's a calm and nice guy, and then Rich is very lively, and the biggest Twitch chat fiend I've ever met on talent.
More so than
He
you?
had this. Yeah, he had this terminology that I've never heard before. He said he's farming emotes,
Which meant?
which meant saying something that would trigger a specific reaction in chat, and then he's farming that emote. Not like he's keeping track of it or anything, but it was funny.
Wait, does he, while he's paneling, does he look at the chat?
Yeah.
Just like you. Okay.
Well, I don't really do it during panels, actually. Sometimes I check the chat during casting, but I don't do it during panels.
That's
But he would-
worse. I mean, that's
he
so
would-
much worse.
Why?
What do you mean, why? That means you're not listening
just-
to your co-caster. Paneling, you can.
No,
I feel like you
I
can
mean, you
just
just-
jerk
you
off and get away with it.
You glance over for a second to see if people think you're funny or an idiot, and if they think you're an idiot, then you're like, I'm doing it right. No. I honestly, I think so. I think the key difference for me is when you're on panel, right? You're on camera most of the time, but lately, at least here in Kiev, we had a lot of. We went out of the studio a lot with shots. It was a lot from the arena. So I guess there was a lot of time, but on some panels, you don't really know exactly how long you're on and when you're on camera because they want to cut back to you. And then if you're looking down at your phone, it looks kind of dumb, right? But if you're casting, you're never on camera while the game's going. So that's
Right.
like a difference, right?
I see.
I guess that's why. But
And the
Don't tell
tournament
Valve.
itself? Yeah, Valve events, it's always Twitch chat.
There were a couple of really good games, and it was exciting. And there was one primary upset, which was Androgesa getting top 4. I think was a pretty big upset for many people. So the SA team got top 4 again.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, across the tournament, I think the level of play was lower than I expected. Actually, and that's just being honest. There
Did
were a
you
couple of teams
vocalize that
really. Yeah, I did.
during the tournament?
did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were a couple of teams that really didn't show up, and there were a lot of mistakes. And I don't know if it's because we've been spoiled with ESL Birmingham right before, which kind of had like 6 or 7 of the best 8 teams in the world, right? That was stacked, that tournament. But the level of play in this was just not the same. Tons of unforced errors, bad team communication, weird map movements, all this stuff. Also from the teams that were the best and ended up winning, right? NIP and Alliance was the finals, and NIP won it 3-2. But both of those teams had some really questionable decisions during the tournament that they both should be better than. But it's a high stakes tournament in a sense, right? It's the last one before TI. If you don't make it out of this, you don't get to the major. NIP had the least pressure on them, I suppose, but Alliance getting top 2 is actually super important because now they can make TI directly if they get, I think, top 8 in Epicenter. That might be enough. Or maybe they need top 6. I'm not sure.
Very exciting. That's interesting.
You forgot reviews, Shannon.
I know.
I'm going to do some reviews.
I was going to do it after this. I apologize.
Okay.
Just want to
I'll do
switch
the
it up.
first 2.
You know?
I'll
Okay.
do the first 2, you do the last 2, okay? And we'll go bottom up.
I haven't actually read these at all, but yeah, go ahead. Hopefully there's nothing racist.
5 stars. Very enjoyable. By Cutie Ghoul 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, hold on. Am I looking at the wrong list here? What the heck?
Yeah, I'm looking at the list you sent me. This looks right with dates, so I'm gonna assume this one's right. Thank you. I'm gonna send you the link, okay? Just in case you lost it. A sec.
What are you looking
Where
at?
are you? Where are you? Here you
What
are.
are you?
I sent you the link.
Did you see the link in the thing that we use? Oh yeah.
You changed
Wait,
it.
which one are
It's
you
the right
reading?
one. The one I just linked you on Discord.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
what
the
I'm
right
looking
one?
at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm looking at the bottom one first.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you read the title. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for this amazing show. Sind and SUNSfan not only provide great insights for Dota players, but also create an excellent cultural balance since you two respect each other despite having different backgrounds. He respects me. As someone who was born in China, parenthesis, I am Chinese, but have been in the States since high school, this podcast is one of the best discussions about cultural differences I have seen. The one about food, different food cultures, for example. You guys showcase genuine curiosity without stepping over boundaries. Hope to see more of those in the future. Man, that was
Wow.
so wholesome
That was great.
and so nice.
Like, is it wrong that after
And so
reading that,
real.
I feel like, am I this jaded that I feel like that might be sarcastic? I mean, I know it's not. I'm just kidding, but thank you for the
That was nice.
terrific
Thank you.
review.
Thank you, Cutie Ghoul 1234.
Great name.
And the ghoul is obviously spelled by the unit from Warcraft 3. So I don't know what a cutie ghoul would look like, and I actually don't want to know. Next one. Just downloaded Apple Podcasts to leave this review. 5 stars. It's like you, Shannon, just that they left the review and that they apparently also hate it. So perfect. By RJ2307. I guess all the other RJs were taken. That's fine. Great content and awesome delivery. Perfect for those hour-long commutes in traffic, and then some sort of emote that doesn't translate into the JPG.
It's just a square
or
for
a
us.
square.
Thank you.
So
for
it's
the
like
friend.
square performance.
All right,
Thank you,
next
RJ.
one. Yes, thank you. Amazing podcast, 5 stars from Bazinga. Relatable
It says awesome
content.
podcast. You have to read it right.
I did say awesome podcast.
You said amazing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? It's been a real long day here for me, Cinder. It is 2:30 in the morning after all. Okay. Relatable content. This is where I get all of my Dota news or anything about circumcision. And I'm trying. He spelled circumcision horribly wrong, but that's okay. We don't really like to talk about that in the States, so it's
that's
understandable.
correct. That's the correct spelling, isn't it?
Circumcision. Okay, maybe it is right. I like all the random topics.
Dude,
that
you just made me
discuss.
Google circumcision, right?
A+.
What the fuck? All right, I didn't
Enjoy
check the images. We're
the
fine.
Google search. If do you have a Google Home or anything like that? They might actually send you ads for circumcision now, in case you need another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
lovely.
Thank you for that review, Bazinga. And the last one of the week is from Wild Target 13, whose title is Wild Target 13. 5 stars. Been following Dota and watching your content for a long time. Love Dota Cinema and love syndereN casting, analyzing everything else. My friends always talk about fails of the week, A to Z, and events. Podcast is good. Just good, though. There are a few Dota podcasts out there, and this is the best one so far. Thank you.
Just good, though.
Thank you. I made that part up, by the way. He didn't say that.
Just good, though.
Thank
5
you
stars.
so much.
Good. Imagine that. Like you're like, oh man, I want to go to a really good restaurant. I wonder what I can find in this area. You go and you find this place that has amazing ratings with like an average of 4.9 stars or whatever, and all the reviews are just 5 stars. Good.
Good. Not
Are
bad.
you gonna trust that or what?
I would
I
every
don't
time. So yeah,
All right.
there. I think we have not as many
Are
comments.
those the
but
select ones for today?
yes, there's about 50 reviews right now, and I can look at the stats for every episode. There's a lot more people than that listen on, unfortunately, Apple Podcasts. If you're one of those unfortunate people, please leave us a review. All right, next topic: Matumbuman gets kicked. syndereN. I'm going to read the quote from the official Team Liquid Twitter.
Yes.
We would like to announce that. How do you say his first name?
Lasse.
Lasse Matumbuman. I've never seen his last name.
Urpalainen.
Urpalainen has moved out of our Dota 2 starting roster. This was a mutual decision and one that we believe is in the best interest of all parties. Matu is open to new opportunities as we explore the ideal next step for him in his career. With only 10 days until the major, we have had to make this announcement with some urgency to give all parties enough time to find suitable arrangements. We're preparing a more fitting tribute to Matu's time on Team Liquid, one that will properly commemorate all that we've accomplished as a team. Matu has been an indelible part of Team Liquid's history, great word, and our Dota team's DNA over the past 3 years, providing highlights and GIFs aplenty. If you say GIFs, you're incorrect. Both his personality and his play have been important factors during our most memorable wins, but more than that, he has been a steadying force in turbulent times, like a sea captain righting his ship. Who wrote this? It's amazing. As the wolf, the bear, and the spider, Matu cemented his place as one of the game's best with Team Liquid, and we will always be proud of our time together as one of the greatest teams to ever play Dota 2. With Matu's
Okay.
move to our bench...
Wait. Before we move on, I just want to
Yes.
make sure that you understand these references so you appreciate how well written this is, and not that it's just a metaphor. So, do you get it?
You mean the Kunkka, the Lone Druid, the Lycan?
So the wolf is Lycan,
Brood.
the bear is Lone Druid, and the spider is Brood. And the thing about a sea captain riding his ship is his player profile from TI 8, I think it was, where he's out sailing because he loves sailing.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay,
right?
I guess
that
I
was
didn't know
him,
that one.
wasn't
I
it?
figured it was
think
Kunkka,
so.
but I
He
can't
loves
remember
sailing.
playing Kunkka.
I
Okay.
think so.
Before you rudely interrupted, there's a couple more sentences left.
Sorry, sir.
With Matu's move to our
Sorry.
bench, we will be attending the Epicenter Major with a new player who will be announced closer to the event. Kuroki, Miracle, Mind Control, and GH, and our coach, RMN, are all training hard for the Major in Moscow. And as always, we intend to be the best. We intend to be in the best possible position to win the event. Expect more details regarding a new player in the coming days. syndereN.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm anticipating that.
Your thoughts?
Oh, thoughts on what? Like,
Are you the
if
new
move
player,
was-
syndereN?
That I cannot tell.
You can't
No,
tell.
I'm not. So basically, well, we can start from the beginning, right? If you want to talk the roster first, what was speculated a little bit as a possibility was with Matu being removed from the roster that they could put Kuroki back on carry and get another support, but that seems very unlikely given the team's history and given how they've been successful and Kuroki's general role on this team. I also think if he were to play carry, he would need quite a bit of time to transfer, and that
Who
would
is
be
this? Sorry,
maybe
who'd
not
you
even
say?
in time for TI. Kuro.
Oh, Kuro changing role. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Kuro could have played carry. Some people were speculating that, but it is not going to happen. I think he's definitely staying in his role, and it's the dynamic of the team that works that way. So, basically, what I read from this is, I mean, it says that it's mutual. I think perhaps the mutual part of it. I don't think Matu wants to leave a team that's going to TI. Okay, like that sounds unbelievable. That you've qualified for TI, you're guaranteed there. You've played this event 2 times before with this whole team, and you're this close and you get removed, and there's not even a guarantee you get to TI at this point. I don't know how bad the internal issues would have to be before you would consider that a mutual decision, before you would be happy with that. What could be the mutual decision is that they were talking internally in the team, like things weren't working, right? Basically, they weren't getting the results they wanted. They were starting to have hero pool limitations and issues with being unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the possible thing here with, I mean, I don't know how to read this. If it says it's a mutual decision, it's implied that it's between him and the team, right? But alternatively, and it's alternative interpretation, which I might be going out on a limb here, but this could be a mutual decision between the org and the team and the players, right? The other players.
Yes.
That the org is willing to do whatever the team thinks it's best for them, and the team thinks the best move now is to get a new player because they want to be in better shape for TI. And a lot of Matumbuman's heroes have been nerfed. The way he plays isn't as good anymore, and Liquid want to spice things up a bit, because when you play together with the same roster for like 2 years, sometimes getting fresh input and getting that new spark can make a really big difference. So from that perspective, it's understandable. I personally think this should be impossible. That's my opinion. I don't think if you've qualified for TI, I don't think you should be able to get kicked from your team. I think this, like, it's a super competitive industry and a competitive team. I don't think you should be able to be kicked when you.
What if you
for
come
TI
out as a
roster.
blatant racist? You do something. You become like a sexual deviant, like to the extremes.
Okay, I mean, you can always make, these like extreme cases that I don't think will ever happen. I guess, yeah, there's like some force majeure, right? If there's something that's too absurd, and yeah, then of course. But just from the perspective of playing and not making like any, let's say, whatever you want to call it, committing crimes or making serious PR mistakes or whatever, then I think.
So what's the
I just
minimum
think it
time
sucks.
then for something like this in your mind? If you could create the rules.
If I could create the rules of like how long warning you need before you could, like how close to TI you could kick a player, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult, right? Because in a way you could say that's what I just said, right? You could make the rules. Well, any player that has qualified for TI is locked in with his team. But what if you qualify for TI mathematically after 2 events? Let's say you win the first 2 majors, and then your team just sucks for half a year, and the team itself feels like, okay, we need to do something about it. Is it fair to lock the players in that way? And I can definitely see that perspective being difficult to work around. So I actually take it back. I don't think just making it flat out, you qualify for TI, you're in as the rule. But at the same time, this also feels super tight on time, right? Because we have to remember, not only is Epicenter coming up really soon, but the qualifier dates were announced, and they start on the 3rd of July. He has 2 weeks before the opens begin from now. Which would mean at the time of this announcement, he had 3 weeks, I think, which is, it's really tight. It just sucks.
Here's what I think. This is 100% speculation, but knowing like Team Liquid is one of like maybe 3, maybe 4 orgs that are like super legit. Especially Team Liquid is probably number 1 in terms of like they have investors from traditional sports. Like it's a lot. There's a lot of money behind that org. I feel like they go about things a little bit differently. I would assume, I would hope. So it's my guess here, my estimation that, well, first and foremost, 100%, there's no way this is mutual, right? Meaning there's no way he would want to leave the team this close to the qualifiers. But I can almost say I won't say with certainty. I feel very strongly that he is definitely getting a huge buyout because he's under contract, right? So he's getting a buyout of some sort. So he's still making probably, I wouldn't even be surprised if he gets a percentage of TI still, which I think he's probably deserving.
Yeah.
So he probably gets some sort of percentage of TI regardless. Obviously, it's worse than going there as a player, but I can understand both sides' perspectives, right? So it's a weird kind of situation to be in. And we don't know the full story either. We don't know what
basically, you're Liquid, right? You have these world-class players that have won a lot of trophies and have won a TI before, and everybody wants to have that legacy of winning the second one, right? And if they don't hand on heart think that they can prepare for TI, do their best, and have a good chance of winning, they will want to change something. I think last year they thought they had a good chance of winning, and they got far. They got top 4, right? I think they lost to EG, and got top 4 that year. So it's just like recent changes, and like I said, time slowly with the same players. It's hard to find that same spark and motivation day by day by day. It's honestly really impressive how long Liquid have stayed together when you consider that this is not the first time they had a bad event. They've had bad events over the last 2 years. Once in a while, they've flopped in some events, and it's been super stressful because they've played so much. So I honestly think it's really impressive that they got the record that they did. It's just the timing of this is unfortunate. I think people would be way less up in arms over it if they did it 2 months ago, because you would have much more time to adjust. Even if they were qualified for TI at the time 2 months ago, it feels more fair to the player that gets kicked to get time to adjust. But maybe the last event was just that was the last straw, right? They got 8th, I think, in the last event they played, which for Liquid, even if you're like strong and you're tight, everybody's disappointed with that. For sure. I think they lost the best of 1 to, who was it? Was it Chaos? And got knocked out, I think, at DreamHack or whatever it was. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong. But anyway.
So in terms of replacements for Matu, is there... Let's try two exercises here. Number 1, players...
I lost a game. Hang on. I think I'm mixing 2 events up. But anyway, it was disappointing last event. Before that, they got 2nd place at a major, I think, which was great. And before that again,
their results have been consistently pretty good, though, for the most part.
They lost to, so somebody in chat just said, Archie just said, they lost to Gambit at ESL, which knocked them out. And then in the major before, they got 2nd, but then before that, they got 8th. I think that's how it was. The DreamHack one is further back. I'm getting the chronology wrong here, but okay. Go on.
Either way. So I want you to choose them any player you can forget about teams and who's on what roster, who's available, who's not. I want you to pick them the best player available for that position.
Okay.
And then I want you to pick a realistic one, somebody that makes sense and is available.
Gotcha. Okay.
Who would you take
for that?
Okay. So there have been rumors, of course, because I think Weehaw stood in for them, right?
Yep.
Is Resolution on the team right now? He's been bouncing around left and right. It's hard to keep track.
I don't think he's a good fit.
Weehaw or Resolution, or both?
Resolution is not a good fit for this team, I think.
Do you think so? I was thinking this. First of all, I think like personality wise, he'd be fine, but play wise, with my experience with him, he plays a. So that's the thing. I don't know what direction Liquid's trying to go. He definitely cannot play like a Matumbuman, right? Sacrificial type. 100% can't do that because he commands a lot of attention as a carry. But what reasoning do you give?
I think that with the current, how this team wants to play Miracle and how they've played him for the last year, they're playing him as the game winner, right? He's playing the win condition of the game. And when Rezo plays well and plays his best, he's playing the win condition of the game. And they will both be farm sponges on the map, and there will not be enough activity, I think. That doesn't mean Rezo can't play and make moves, but it's not his, how to say, it's not his forte. It's not his best play style. I think what you want to do is you want to get a player whose best play style is being that active player. In the current meta, that's just how you play. And the teams have to assume going into TI that we won't have like really drastic changes where suddenly you're playing 2 farming cores every game or something like that. So the best possible player they could get, I think, is mid one. But that's not happening.
Yep.
So beyond that, the best available player they can get, I think, is actually Weehaw.
Man, that would be amazing. I would love to see Weehaw.
I would put mid one as my number one, and then it's like debatable because I was thinking Thompson could fit in as well because he's like this, playmaker, crazy, does all sorts of stuff. But I actually think he's too unstructured for a Kuro team. I think Kuro would try to tame him. OG are way more crazy in the way they play.
You don't think Weehaw is a little too unstructured?
I think he's more structured than Thompson is. Thompson, to me, is probably the most crazy mid player in the world right now that plays at this level. He has crazy picks, crazy builds, crazy moves. Sometimes it works. Sometimes he looks like a complete idiot. There are some funny highlight videos of that. But, that kind of player just fits into OG. These guys are explosive. The whole team's identity is very much more around that play style, whereas Liquid, for me, is more structured and has more of a very stable framework in how they play. And obviously that can be both a strength and a weakness, right? Because when you have that structure, it means other teams can identify it. When it comes to OG's chaos and whatnot, that you get what I mean, right? And perhaps that's been Liquid's problem, is that they've been this very structured team. I still think they're going to maintain structure, but they want that bit of flair, that less predictability, but they don't want total chaos. So Weehaw just seems like a good in-between thing that's a super good playmaker who's very mechanically skilled and plays a variety of playmaking heroes, so Miracle can be the win condition. And at the same time, has that little bit of edge that can throw the opponent off and catch them off guard, both in drafting and play.
No, I agree for the most part. I think, Weehaw's he's probably my favorite, I don't want to say that, but he's one of my favorite players of all time easily. He's, with my time with him, he brings some interesting things to the table that I haven't seen from others. So, number one, I think this is a downside to having him. He's inconsistent. He'll kind of, like you're talking about Thompson, he goes crazy sometimes. What was it, Thompson? You said he's unstructured. I feel like Weehaw is maybe not as much so, like you said, but he still has a little bit of that. He'll throw some games. Like, that's a thing. But at the same time, he'll literally win some games based on those same kind of decisions every day. But the good thing about Weehaw is his personality. He will get along with everybody. And I think having a captain like Kuroki would be really good for him because he is somebody that I think he can mold just based on his personality. He's a guy that can be the guy that takes, like, he's kind of has a little bit of what Matu had in the fact that when Liquid would lose, a lot of the blame would go to Matu a lot of the times. Probably not deserving so in a lot of the cases, but Weehaw is one of those guys who can take it, for sure. So always been a big fan. So I want to quickly talk about a PPD twit longer. Not going to read the whole thing, but it has something to do with Matu here, which Matu actually thumbs this up on Twitter apparently. So it kind of proves that it was not a mutual departure. So this is about protecting players. This is from PPD. Matumbuman is the first player of this season to be kicked by his team after qualifying to the expected $25 to $30 million event. When Valve decided to reduce the number of DPC events from last year to 10, 5 that the best teams get to play in, while not increasing the prize pool or the prize money of said tournament, the significance of the already paramount international became even bigger. I believe that most players/teams will make more money at TI than they will the rest of the year, which means if you play throughout the year and qualify to TI, you should go to TI, kind of echoing what you've already been saying. I'd like to see stricter restrictions or punishments to teams who change rosters after qualifying to events. I believe we, Team Dota, had a similar situation at TI4 when Era was removed from Fnatic. This is a great example, by the way, and Valve stepped in to make sure he got to compete. This was an awful situation for everyone involved, so hopefully we can find a better way to protect individuals in the future. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's kind of what I said, right? It's hard. What I'm sure in this Matumbuman situation, we're very much on the same page. But the problem is, how do you make rules, right? If you want to make a rule set that people should follow, and the rule is when you've qualified for TI, you're in TI. If you qualify for TI after 3 months into the season and your team goes complete shit, should you not be allowed to change your roster at all? Like, all 5 of the players just have to sit through it, right? If the internal atmosphere is bad, if people lose faith or whatever, this is like putting it on edge, right? This is like an extreme example. Let's say everybody hates each other, plays bad, doesn't want to play at all. You go to TI, you get 16th, okay, or 18th if there's 18 teams. You just get last. And everybody could be put in a better situation if they were allowed to make changes. So that's why these ultimate or absolute rules are pretty dangerous to make, because yes, they protect the players, but at the same time, they don't protect the players. So the real issue here is, I agree with everything Peter's saying, but the question is, how do we implement it so that it is in the own player's interest always? How can you do that? I think that's what's tricky, and I can't come up with a great rule set right now for this. Like, maybe a simple way to do it is 2 months before TI, you cannot change your roster if you're qualified or something. Or it's like, then you make like an arbitrary time that you say, okay, here, this is your guarantee as a player, if you're in the team 2 months before. But then what's likely to happen is teams that feel like, oh man, we could upgrade our roster like 5% going into TI, they will kick the player 2 months and 1 day before, right? Like, then you're just, because let's imagine the situation. Let's imagine there was this 2-month limitation. I think Liquid might have still kicked him or replaced him with another player. They would just have done it earlier, and he would have played one less event with the brand. Because if they have this feeling that, okay, throughout this year, it hasn't been good enough, can we find a solution? Maybe. But that would still have been better, right? Because he would have had more time to adjust and find an opportunity, and maybe even play for another team at the upcoming major, the Epicenter one, right? Maybe he could have found his way into a team in that case. So that to me is better, but is it ideal? I don't know.
Okay. I mean, we won't talk about that any further, but that is, we can talk about that for a long time, because there's no perfect system and everything has pros and cons. And we've kind of seen, I feel like we've seen almost every scenario throughout the last 8.5 years or whatever it is, right?
We've had a lot of years of Dota, so it's bound to happen.
Okay, so speaking of Dota, the Dota Underlords has kind of been released to Battle Pass owners, and I believe this week they will be releasing it to everybody else. I don't believe that you have technically played yet, because you went straight to Starladder, right? Have you seen
I've not tried
people playing or anything like that?
Yeah, I saw a little bit at Starladder. Some people were playing it a little bit. It looked like auto chess, but with better design decisions on items and better graphics and more smooth movement and more interesting options. So,
and we talked about this a bit last week. It's been almost a week since it's basically been out, I feel like. So we won't spend too long on this, but I guess to wrap it all into one, the UI and everything that Valve has implemented is just infinitely better, and was kind of expected, right? Versus auto chess, because there's just all those restrictions within the mod that Drodo couldn't really do anything about. But there was one thing that we initially did not like, and that was the black border on the heroes, which kind of, with people calling it cell shading. Is it even technically called that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
So I was berated on What the Duck, syndereN. I know you missed this because you don't watch any of the Moonduck shows, but despite being in Moonduck, by the way, but I was berated like none other for not liking it. It's just like a visual thing. And at first I was like, after a few games, I got used to it, actually. Like, it didn't bother me as much. I obviously prefer not to have it. But everybody's like, oh, you're such an idiot. You're so dumb. Nobody else feels this way. Turns out Valve got a lot of complaints. And within literally 1 day of it being released, they changed the UI to make it PC friendly, because it was a mobile UI to start.
Yeah.
It was very big. And they got rid of the cell shading, the border. Completely.
There you go.
But the funny thing is, because they came out with it initially, there are some people that prefer the cartoony look. So they will be releasing a toggle later.
Yeah.
soon.
That's fine. Perfect. Everybody's
Yes.
happy.
Everybody's happy. I agree. Also, I thought of this idea, and it turns out it's not such a novel idea. A lot of other people have thought about it as well. So you know how auto chess works, where there's 8 boards, and technically you're not playing another person; you're playing a copy of their board, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that I thought would be cool is, especially this is the one negative people are talking about with Underlords, is it feels like you're isolated on your board. Because in auto chess, there's like this big map you can roam around. In auto chess, you can look at other people's boards, but it's not as intuitive, I feel like. So it's more difficult to look at like combinations and whatnot. And of course, when it's like in a 1v1 situation, why not have both players play on the same board?
Yeah.
So like 6 people get eliminated, and then suddenly 1v1, and you're on the same board, so you know how much damage somebody is doing to you and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
It's not 2 different scenarios. Apparently, they're doing this already. It's going to be coming out soon, which is awesome. So I'm really excited about that.
That's good. What's Underlords Academy? You wrote this down.
Yes, I'll get to that in a second. I'll just finish this with
you just do things in random order when you write bullet points down. Okay,
well,
gotcha.
syndereN, why do you need to ruin an entire segment with your blabbering?
Sorry.
The one thing that people were unsure of.
Why do you do them in different order though?
The patch. I just like to switch things up. I like to keep you on your toes. I like you to interrupt me repeatedly in the same segment.
If that's what you like, I mean, I could do it. I could do that for you.
You'll find this funny though.
What do you think though? Okay.
You'll find this funny. Since you haven't played, you don't know this, but Drow Ranger was OP. Okay. Super OP. So now that makes 3 games. She was super OP recently in Dota 2. Artifact, she was OP for literally a year until they balanced it after like it had been out for so long.
Yeah.
And Underlords, somebody is obsessed with this hero. Is Toby?
Maybe.
On
I was gonna say.
Dev team? It's actually unbelievable.
Toby's a higher up at Valve. Who knows?
Yeah, somebody's.
I mean, Toby's also at all the big Dota events, so you got to think. Right?
And some inside knowledge there for sure. But they patched it recently. They've been doing a lot of updates like every day because I feel like which we'll talk about in the next segment, because of other announcements, maybe they are rushing it out the door, but it didn't really feel rushed. It's very polished for a beta. So I'm really happy with what they've done. But like you so rudely alluded to earlier, we're doing a YouTube channel, which we haven't officially announced yet. We're kind of just slow playing it. It's called Underlords Academy. So if you guys have absolutely no idea how to play auto chess or anything like that, if you search for Underlords Academy on YouTube, you can find a basic tutorial that we made. It's me, Neil, Zeno, who you know, I believe. It's just a friend from back in the Han days, and Swim. So the 4 of us will be doing content for that channel.
Are you planning on getting any good players too, or?
No, all trash. We could add you to that list as well. Actually, 5 trash players. That'd be great.
Swim is a competitive. He's played competitive Gwent, right?
And Artifact, and now Artifact. He actually won a couple auto chess tournaments. So.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, he's a pro player in Underlords now, syndereN. Okay?
Gotcha. All right, so 1 good player.
Thank you. Moving on, and I believe you've seen a little bit of this. Teamfight Tactics was announced.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
A few, maybe it was last week or something like that. So League of Legends, a.k.a. Riot Games, are coming out with their own version of auto chess called Teamfight Tactics, also known as TFT. They had 8 streamers visit them, I want to say a couple weeks ago, and they played it for the entire day. They talked about how much fun it was and how they literally would not take bathroom breaks, which I'm like, what the? Okay, interesting.
Well, that's definitely something you could relate to, though.
That's the opposite. I have to go to the bathroom all the time. It's actually
but you could relate to talking about stuff like that on air.
Oh, yes, that's true. So I'll let you go first based on what you think of, based on what you've seen so far, because now more information has been coming out in terms of video and gameplay. And I believe today, if I'm not mistaken, it is actually just coming out to some respect. I don't know if it's like an open beta or whatever, but yeah. What do you think about this game? in
I
your
mean, I can
limited
tell you
time
my
seeing?
first impressions, right? So I've
Yes.
watched very little of both this and Underlords, and I haven't played either. But basically, what it looks like is kind of a comparison. When you think about how Dota and how League compare and what they look like and how they work, it really is League's version of Dota Auto Chess, the way it looks to me. Like the design of it, the like just the feel when you look at the game, the more like cartoony design and whatnot. Um, and I don't know, like I have no idea about balance and combos and all this stuff if they've done it similar to what has been done in auto chess. So like I'm really not the best person to talk to, but for me it looks like League of Legends is auto chess, and that probably means that it's worse than Dota's auto chess, right? So
Wow.
right.
Strong words, syndereN. Very
But
strong
what
words.
what should be said here, relatively, okay, from a competitive perspective and how interesting it is, relatively, this game might be better relative to how good League is compared to Dota. So I might like this game more, but I probably won't like it more than Underlords, right? But it might still be a better game overall.
Right. So
Um,
apparently they're not doing mobile. So there's a couple of things we need to talk about. They're not doing mobile. At least they said it's not planned yet, whatever that means. And number two, you have to download the League client to play it, as
mhm.
opposed to as opposed to
Oh,
Underlords, which is its separate
so you
game
gotta
essentially
have
on
that
Steam.
Adobe Air.
Do you have to have Adobe Air to play League?
No, the client, I don't know how it works now, okay? A lot of what I'm going to say about League is going to be horribly outdated, but their client ran on Adobe Air for 5 years.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
I think they revamped everything at some point, but.
So I'm gonna do my best not to go on a rant here, but that usually means I'm going on a rant. So
Okay.
first, it was announced. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And actually, I was kind of worried for Valve because more people play League of Legends than Dota. That's in terms of money making. Well, I shouldn't say that. Who knows how much if you add up all the millions that Valve has made through the Battle Pass. But overall, League is a more popular game than Dota. It always has been. And I remember my first impression of League was not good. And 9 years
Mm-hmm.
later, it's still not good. And for the life of me, I can't understand why it is popular. But that's a whole nother story. So, and I feel like an ignorant human being, but it's just, some
Mm-hmm.
people just don't like that kind of
I mean,
stuff.
if you want to have, again, it's outdated for me, right? But I can give you my
Yes.
perspective of what I thought was good about the game in the past and what got worse and how it like rates relative to Dota.
Sure.
I don't know. Do you want to do that now? Okay.
No, go ahead. Well,
So
okay. If you want
basically,
me to, I can
uh-huh.
end with the rant after you're done then.
Okay.
Good.
I haven't played League for I think 5 years, maybe even more. I don't remember the exact time I played the last, but it's very long ago. But I did play it early on when it came out in the start, and I actually thought the game was really enjoyable. I was playing it with my friends. We were leveling up together. They had like this. They have a different design philosophy about progress, where in Dota the design has always been you have access to everything, and League's design was you have access to very little, and you're leveling up and you're earning things, and therefore your characters get better and you get access to new characters. Whether you're a fan of that or not, we could just take that out of the equation and just say let's imagine you have everything, and just look at the gameplay.
Okay.
In season 1, when the game was out, it might have been in part because players were worse, but it felt like when I was playing, the hero designs were very unique and very fun, a lot of them. And then over time, as the game progressed in time, they had this, it felt like they were releasing heroes to release heroes, okay, to make profits, and not because they necessarily the designs fit into the game or were any interesting. The designs became more and more flat. There was this meme at one point that every new character in League of Legends needed to have a passive that procced after 4 attacks. It needed to have a dash, and and it was almost true. That's the funny part. Like the meme had a root in reality, right? Um, so a lot of their designs were just not very creative or interesting, but the original ones were. It was actually really fun. A lot of the heroes were really fun to play. Uh, Honestly, a couple of the original League of Legends roster heroes would have been amazing in Dota, but we obviously never get them,
Same with
right?
Han, for sure.
Um, yeah, so they definitely did some things right. Like everybody loves to hate on the game because I love to make this analogy. It's like when you're a high schooler and you're a guy, you can't like Justin Bieber, right? Because you just can't. If you like Justin Bieber, everybody thinks you're a doofus for, even if
A
like whatever.
doofus.
So that's just something you can't do, which is fucking stupid, right? But Yeah, over time, the designs got flatter, and they're balancing. I think this is for me the root of the problem with the game. Their balancing philosophy is basically the direct opposite of Dota, and that's where I think that the games just really split paths. Is
Hmm.
Dota's balancing is hero is too strong. What we're generally going to do is we're going to keep its strong identity, but we're going to nerf other aspects of it so it can be strong in a given game, right? There's not a single hero in Dota that is never good, right? There will be conditions where this is the best pick, and you'll be like, this hero is generally not very good, which is absolutely the case, but there will be games where it's the best pick. In League, the way they balance is if hero is too strong, they will nerf the aspects that are too strong, and they will buff um, the similar ones for other heroes. So you get this like streamlined design where in the end you have 10 heroes that do fairly similar stuff, but some of them are just 5 or 10% better at it than the others.
Mm.
And then like all of this like diversity and interesting thing in strategy where you're like, yeah, this hero is generally not that good, but wow, it's great here. It just doesn't really happen in League because the heroes are just better or worse than each other. And then it cycles, then they balance again, and then suddenly another hero is good and the first one is weaker. And then you have a meta where this hero is good, and then 2 months later it's trash. It's just it's like a cyclical development that doesn't provide the players with a lot of creativity. That's one thing. The other thing
Interesting.
from a competitive standpoint is more or less forced roles. In Dota, we have the flexibility that you can move lanes around. You can tri lane. You can start in the jungle with a hero if you think it's good, or at least semi, like what Enigma does. In League, you have to have a jungler, you have to have a support, and you
Mhm.
have to have these three cores that play the lanes. That's just, you can't play without it. You can't play without a jungler. You're just going to lose on economy. So, again, you're hampering the creativity of the players. And then the final and probably biggest problem I have with this game, like you can have defined roles and you can have heroes that are weaker, that is fine. The game inherently makes it really hard to get kills, and that is not enjoyable to watch. It's one thing if you're a pro player and you play the game at a really high level and you can enjoy like the small things, but it's like the best explanation I can give is, let's say you watch soccer or football if you're European, right? You watch football and you're not really into football, and you go to the stadium and you watch this game for 90 minutes and nobody scored a goal. It could objectively be a really good game where both teams played super well, but if you're a casual fan who doesn't really appreciate good football, you're just going to be like, score a fucking goal, you know? Like you want
That's
something to
me.
happen that has
That's
an yeah.
me.
And in League, if you're a casual viewer, there's nothing happening for so much time. There's nothing happening. And in Dota, you can have tons of kills that are largely inconsequential, but it feels like something's happening in the game.
Yeah.
You're making it easy for people to kill each other. You're implementing items like Smoke of Deceit. In League of Legends, it's extremely easy to protect your side of the map, and kills are so massively important that people go out of their way to survive and play defensively and
syndereN,
play this like, yeah, okay, that was a rant. There you
let
go.
me.
That was my first rant.
That is a great rant, by
We
the
did it.
way. So you're saying though,
We got
the
it.
sum of what you're saying is basketball is better than soccer. Is that correct?
That aspect of it, absolutely. I personally don't like watching football very much. I prefer watching American
Oh,
football, which is
wow.
something a
I
lot
knew
of
that.
Europeans are going to be very much in disagreement with. But I actually,
syndereN's not European after all.
so on average, American football games have more points scored and more progress. And that doesn't mean I can appreciate a football game that's super exciting, but a lot of the games that end like 1-0 or 0-0, I just don't feel as interested in it. I think my least favorite sport of all time to watch is probably motorsports. Like NASCAR is fucking boring.
It's
Okay, you're
horrible. It's
driving in
real bad.
circles for 5
But I
hours or
get to
whatever it is.
drink beer and watch them for
Yeah.
hours.
It's I don't find that enjoyable. My favorite sports to watch, sports that I really like watching, are tennis, badminton,
Badminton,
handball.
really?
Yeah, badminton and handball are really big sports in Denmark, so that's probably a part of it. You know, I grew
Okay.
up playing these sports, but there's a lot of dynamic. There's something happening. Handball to me is a great sport because there's a lot of goals, there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of movement and action all the time, right? That to me is really fun to watch. I
syndereN, I
a
bet
lot of
you
the time
I
I
could
find
get
golf
you.
more enjoyable to watch than football. Actually.
Golf's pretty bad. Golf's pretty bad. than golf.
But there's progress, right?
See, the difference, the good thing
play
about
slowly,
golf
we feel like
is
something's
it's like ASMR. It's very relaxing. Like, and he gets the testicle into the hole. Very good.
You watch a
indeed.
different kind of golf than I do.
Yes,
I think,
that's
but
true.
yeah.
That's on a different channel, porn golf. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Oh, volleyball.
I think,
Somebody in chat wrote volleyball. Volleyball is fun to
Dude,
watch too.
I
Both
can
volley
get
and
you.
beach volley. Really
You need
fun
to move
watch.
here. I will get you into basketball.
Yeah,
Based on
I
what
think
you're saying,
basketball. Yeah.
you will like basketball. I promise
I
you.
really think I will like it. The reason I'm not much into it is that it's not a big sport in Europe, at least
Yes.
not where I'm from.
Correct.
Like, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think Denmark's basketball is handball, basically. So I could totally see myself enjoying basketball if I was into it. It's just we're not exposed that much to it. So
All right,
that's
Cinder, I'm gonna make you a Suns fan
it. Okay.
one day. Okay, getting back to the actual topic. That was a great rant, by the way. That's gonna be the
Thank you.
episode. That's gonna be the name of the episode. Cinderin goes on a rant about League of Legends. That's great clickbait right there. And I feel like I can't even
Most
follow.
viewed.
I can't even follow that rant up. So I'm just gonna give my opinions, and this won't be a rant about TFT.
Okay.
I'm sure they have some interesting concepts. Some of it does sound interesting. I'm sure they're going to have some cool stuff that we wish will be in Underlords and vice versa. There's something about a game that just, the art style turns you off so much that I just can't physically play it. I will literally never try. Like, the screenshot that I saw originally was like, it doesn't look that great, but I'll see what happens. I saw the video today. My fucking God, that game looks so goddamn bad based on
I mean, it's
just
basically
art.
League's graphics, right?
Yes,
It's League's graphics. So
I cannot
Man,
tell you how
hang on.
much
I
I
actually
despise
really
that
need
art
to open a
style.
window. It's getting way too hot in my room. Just
All
give
right,
me a
I'm going to rant to myself as you open your window. The art style, and again, it's subjective. I understand that. This is not like I'm saying people are dumb for liking it. I'm saying, for my personal opinion, that art style is so god awful that I just physically cannot bring myself to open it on my computer. It's an insult to this great monitor and my great computer to open a game like that. That's all I'm going to say. So moving on and finishing
Dude,
up on the...
imagine opening a game and your monitor says not compatible.
Fuck you for opening this, you idiot. I'm a virus, by the way. All right, so
My
the last
settings
thing...
are too high.
Drodo... We said we were going to talk about E3, but I feel like nothing really interesting happened other than Keanu Reeves, so we're just not going to... Unless you
There
want
were
to.
a couple of... oh, wait, we actually did cover... Right, we covered it last time. I don't know what happened since then.
I mean, I asked my chat, nobody cared, so we're just going to move on. So the last thing,
Okay.
which happened at E3, I believe, Drodo's Auto Chess, the one that's on mobile, will be coming to the Epic Store soon, apparently. So I could be wrong. I feel like it's Underlords, TFT, those are 1 and 2. You can flip-flop however you want. Third place will always be this Auto Chess, I feel like.
Do you think... Okay, is this the new MOBA genre where now the other companies are going to see, oh, this is hitting right now, so we're all going to make it, and then we're going to have 7 that are just forgotten about in half.
You mean
forgotten
Battle
about.
Royale version 2?
Yeah, the new Battle Royale or MOBAs, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of a Battle Royale if you think about it. Smaller scale and less skill.
True.
I guess there's less mechanical skill, at least.
What if they added an element to auto chess where there were bonus rounds where you needed to play your heroes and first person, and you needed to fight the enemies and use your skills?
Wow, that's great.
Thank you.
You know,
and they would have guns and skill shot and dash.
Can I tell you an idea I had? This is not related to anything other than the Battle Royale concept. I had an idea that apparently is also not unique. Every idea I have is not. And I was actually thinking about getting into this somehow, but it's so far and away. Like, the number one thing when you're a kid that you want to do is create a video game. But it's also probably the most difficult thing you will ever do. So I probably will not do it. But have you ever played a game called Twisted Metal?
No. I'm going to look it up right now. Metal or medal?
Metal.
Metal. Okay.
So it's this car. It's not a racing game, but you get characters that are cars, different types of, some are vans, some are whatever, and you blow things up with weapons. So it's driving around.
Let me just interrupt you here. I Googled it, and the first thing I see is a picture of the box or whatever, the box of Twisted Metal 2 for the PlayStation. And it's literally a muscular guy standing between 2 big wheels on the side of a car.
Yeah, I remember that.
Driving forward and throwing rockets from his shoulder.
Yeah, that's...
And then
that's
the Eiffel Tower in the background.
Yes. This is the first... So you know how GTA right now, if you go and I think they have... I forget what levels they have. I haven't played in a long time. But it's looks exactly like a city. like literally the same roads and all that. This was the first, even though they, by today's standards, it's complete shit. Twisted Metal is one of the first games that had location maps like that. And like, holy, it was like mind blowing. But this was my probably my favorite game of consoles, other than Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But you have cars, you blow each other up with weapons, you get power ups. I want that as a battle royale. Okay, battle royale where you get to equip weapons and it's basically Apex but with these fucking cars. Like that sounds like the coolest game ever. Which
It's like
something like
Demolition
Rocket
Derby,
League,
right?
Yeah, something like that. Rocket League, I feel like could actually just make a mod based on that idea,
Dude,
and it would
you
be
just
God
reminded
tier.
me of like one of my favorite things on TV of all time. When I was a kid, they had this thing. I think it was on the Discovery Channel. I think it was called Robot Wars.
That
where
was
they
so bad. What are you talking?
Well, maybe the version you got. Our version was fucking amazing.
Was
okay?
it? My version was
I don't
like
know. Maybe it
little
was the
tiny
same version
robots.
and you were
Oh, I'm
just
cutting you. Oh.
maybe you were just older than me and I thought it was amazing. But it was actually for me really fun to watch. And that kind of thing you could easily turn into a game, right? Like everybody plays this kind of it's the same logic, right? You're playing a car that has a way of doing combat and then it's about being the last one standing in an arena that has like traps all around and maybe power-ups or whatever. I think that sounds like fun.
So people are trying to compare
Oh yeah,
Twisted
Junkyard.
Metal.
Somebody in chat just wrote Junkyard. That was also good. Wasn't
People
that
are
the
trying
one
to
where
compare.
was that the one where there was like you had access to a junkyard and you would have to build a machine that performed a certain action? Like it's about throwing this thing as far as possible with the stuff from the junkyard. Is that the one? That was also really good. If that was the one.
You can't compare Twisted Metal to Mario Kart, okay? It's not even close. Mario Kart, you're racing, first and foremost. Even in battle mode, it's very PC. I want people's heads falling off. I want people exploding. I want people to be circumcised in a game that you're playing. That's what I want to see. Anyway.
How about we just turn that into a quote for a newspaper and you just cut out the in the game? And then it's just SUNSfan. I want people to have their heads ripped off, explode, and get circumcised.
That's a great tagline.
That would be. How about that as the headline for this
slogan.
episode? The episode in which SUNSfan wants people's heads off and getting them circumcised.
No, that's not happening. All right, let's get to community questions / topics and random ass things. Last week we brought up the fact that, well, you brought up the horse origin story. Where the hell did the horse come from? And I said it's not interesting. And people, if they want to hear it, they can send the question. People sent the questions, so several people, in fact. So I guess I'll tell it real quick. I don't think it's interesting at all. So,
okay.
My brother and I have, my brother more so, we have Tourette's. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
We have very mild, I have an extremely mild case of Tourette's.
Maybe you should explain it anyway.
All right, so Tourette's, when people think of Tourette syndrome, it's like South Park episodes where you're screaming stuff like, bah, 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 saying really racist things, right? It's not always the case. In fact, that's more of the extreme levels. So mostly it's like twitches. You get just random twitches and you feel like, it's not like it's more of a mental thing than it is physical. You feel like you have to do them or else you can't function, okay? Mine's very mild. My brother's a little less mild. He likes screaming stuff, and Nikki, my girlfriend, would say that I do the same thing, but she's lying. Anyway, my brother as a kid was watching an episode, a movie called The History of the World. I think it's a comedy, okay? And back then they would censor a lot of things on TV, like the word shit you couldn't say, now you can, for example. So in this movie, instead of censoring, they would dub it, okay? And in the movie, the guy apparently says something like, "You miserable piece of shit," like that, okay? But in the movie, with the dubbed version, this is how it sounded. "You miserable piece of horse," something like that. And my brother found it hysterically funny to the point where he would just start saying it over and over again. So that's literally the story of, we just like saying the word horse. We don't like horses necessarily.
You've never told me this. I didn't know this.
If you want to hear a follow-up story, I thought I was a cool kid in high school. I was very introverted, okay? I didn't like talking to people. I only had a couple friends. We went to the mall one day, and I thought it would be not cool, but I feel like it would get me out of my shell, like prove that I'm not a loser if I just scream horse really loud, okay? So we go into the parking we go into the parking lot.
Wow. That's a very interesting thought process you have there.
I'm an idiot in high school. What can I say? We go to the parking lot of this mall, and we see a group of girls at the end of the parking lot. And I look towards them, and I for some reason, feel the need to scream, horse! They look at me, and they start
And that's how he
cussing
met
us out.
Nikki.
Yes, if you guys need to get a girl, that's how you do it. So I scream horse at them, and they look at me, and they're all offended. And they start screaming at me like, holy shit. All right, so I get to my car, and I start driving away. And my friend, he's like, you know what it probably is? They probably thought you called them whores. Like,
Oh, shit.
like, yeah, that would make a lot more sense, I suppose.
Dude, I didn't even think about that.
I guess
My
I won't say that
God.
anymore, huh? So I reserve
then-
that for basketball games when nobody can actually hear what you're saying. Just
But then
screaming.
you were cool, though. They were like, holy shit, man.
Dude, girls looked
just
at
yelled-
me. Unbelievable.
Like, what the fuck, man? This guy has no chill. He just called a random bunch of girls in the street, just yelled whores at them, dude.
Yes, I am. What a god.
I
that-
totally want to hang out with this guy. Oh, God, I would be cringing myself to death. That's one of those things you think back on 10 years later, and you're still cringed.
I don't cringe. I have no shame with that story. Still think it's funny.
Oh, man.
Okay, so a couple more things. This is from Chuanito and slight edit by the great Sajidine. If you were omnipotent for a day, what would you do? And it can't be like, it needs to be selfish. What would you do for you or somebody that you're like, don't say peace on earth. No bullshit like that. What would you do?
So omnipotent means you could do literally anything,
Yes.
right? Okay. Wait, what's the word for when you see everything?
Omnipotent. Omniscience.
No.
Omnipresent?
Right. Yeah, omniscient.
Omnipresent.
That's someone that knows everything. Yeah.
Omniscient is knowing everything. Omnipotent is whatever the other one is.
It has to be selfish.
Yes.
I would learn to swim.
I'd be the world's greatest swimmer.
Dude, that's such a hard. I really don't. You have to go first on this. I need to think.
Mine is really stupid. I couldn't think of anything either. Because no, my normal answer would be I would just want money. Just give me a shit ton of money. Like that's
yeah, but
a
if you
selfish
have all,
thing.
yeah, I mean, it's
I
boring.
mean, give
man.
me
You wanna come up with
literally
something
$50
cool.
billion. Give me. Oh, okay. Okay, I thought of one.
That was the biggest American number you could come up with.
I would own the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
That would actually. I didn't think of that before. That would 100%. That's the thing I'm
good.
probably most passionate about, and that
Now
makes
I
me
know
rich
mine
as
too.
well.
That's great.
I would own them.
I
That'd
would
be
own
amazing.
you.
What the fuck does that mean?
There
Huh?
you go.
How does that work exactly? How do you own a person? Am I your
Now,
slave?
by extension, I also know.
Oh, I see. Does that mean you own my girlfriend as well, syndereN? I mean, there's a lot of thresholds here you don't want to cross, buddy.
Oh man, what do I want to do?
If I had something more realistic, if I had to bring it down a notch, I would be sponsored by Pepto-Bismol and Totino's Pizza Rolls. Not only are they both delicious, and I consume them at all times, they work together.
Dude, we need
You eat
Totino's to sponsor the
Totino's,
podcast.
You get diarrhea, you get Pepto-Bismol, you get constipated,
Now they
and then
don't
you have
want to
Totino's
sponsor us.
again.
You just ruin it.
It's an endless cycle of greatness. I love it.
Dude,
I, love
I
both.
want a sponsor on this podcast that is somehow food or drink related that we have both in Denmark and the US. That would be fucking great for this.
Good
that would
luck.
be great for this podcast, man. Yeah,
Good luck.
with that. I'm still trying to think of what I would do
You
if
are
I was
failing
omnipotent.
so
and,
bad.
And the next thing I see on the list is fucking testicle story, and I just can't think of anything.
Don't
when we're
spoil
done
it.
with this question, it's time. You guys should see these sheets, man. Like the episode sheets that we have.
Just pick,
My
even if
God.
it's stupid, just say something. Just you need to answer.
Yeah, well,
the
I know,
question.
but I can't even think of anything that's good. That's what I mean. Like, this
Well,
is
what do you
just
mean? It
so
doesn't need to
bad.
be. I'm not expecting anything good out of you. Just say anything.
Okay, I would
You
own
win
you. Then.
TI.
I would
How
own
about
you.
that?
Then. I mean, yeah, but isn't that a boring answer?
Yes, but that's fine. You can be boring.
But at the same time, would it feel satisfying to win if
No.
you know you're omnipotent, so you can do whatever you want? So the victory in itself isn't even glorious or great, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even know how good that would feel. It's like using cheats in a video game and being like, yeah, I beat it in 2 minutes. And then you're like, yeah, well, but I didn't even play it, right?
That's true. You can say that for a
So-
lot of things. Me owning the Suns,
Yeah.
it's never going to happen. I cheated my way. I'd enjoy it though. So
I don't know. For some reason, that answer just feels way better to me than mine.
Is there anything you're more passionate, or what's the next passion in your life other than gaming? Let's get out of the gaming realm.
I love food.
Okay, so would you
I
want to
love
be
going
obese
to restaurants.
so you could eat more food?
If I were omnipotent, I would be obese. Dude, what?
Actually, that's probably a better answer for me.
You can choose anything you want. I want to be fat.
Maybe I should have picked I could eat and never gain weight. That would be nice.
Oh, that would actually be nice, man. That would be
for
really
you?
nice.
I mean, screw you.
That would be nice. And just having nonstop access to high quality and a big variety of food that gets cooked for me. That would be awesome.
Okay, so you wouldn't want to be like immortal.
Have a god tier personal chef.
Okay.
That would be nice.
You know, being immortal is up there. You have to be able to kill yourself, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to live long enough that I don't want to live anymore and I can't do anything about it because I'm immortal, you know?
How about being unable to die from obesity? So you can see how big you can get before you die. So you can only die of old age, but you can eat as much as you want. And then you can see if you can somehow... Maybe you could grow bigger than a continent before you die.
All right, that's my new number one, guys. Easy peasy. All right. So we'll finish this off with, as you said, the testicle story. It's less of a story and more of, I brought this up to my chat earlier, and they seem to enjoy it. So I already know what you're going to say, syndereN, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who is weirder? That's the first question. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this story, and you tell me who's weirder.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a movie, which I doubt you have, called Waiting?
No.
Okay, it's a Ryan Reynolds movie.
Okay.
You know who Ryan Reynolds is?
I think so. Let me look
And
it up
it's
just to be
about
sure.
it's about like a restaurant and the employees within the restaurant and how they treat people. There's like this running joke that they do, and this is something that I like to do, where I will go up to my girlfriend and just start having a conversation. She'll look down and see my nutsack.
Okay.
So what I do is I twist my testicles in a way, because I wear pajama pants, it's pretty easy, and I basically overlap them on top of my like waistline. So you can't see the penis or anything, it's just the testicles. And I'm just standing there and my testicles are showing. Okay. That's what I do. That's the first weird thing. I know they're both weird. People do this, by the way.
Wait, what was the other weird thing?
I'm getting to it.
Oh,
my girlfriend, Nikki's reaction to this is not an exaggeration. She will be on the verge of vomiting. She will literally start gagging at the sight of my testicles, which the first time I did this, I was actually offended that she was gagging at the sight of my balls.
Yeah.
So which one is weirder? The fact that she gags at the sight of my testicles or the fact that I do that?
Does she gag every time? I mean, maybe
every
it's like
single time. Yes.
Okay, maybe this is like, this is like, it's a survival instinct, you know? It's like a warning. You see somebody who's doing something really questionable to themselves, and that could affect their ability to reproduce, and your immediate reaction is to vomit, so they get distracted and do something else.
Okay. Answer the question, syndereN.
Like, is she actually about to vomit from that?
Yes, I'm telling you.
That is pretty. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty fucking weird.
I know.
You're also
that's what
pretty
I'm saying.
fucking weird, though.
I understand that I'm weird. I just think that is actually weirder. That she almost vomits at the sight of my balls.
Okay, can I add a third point?
If you
I
must.
think the weirdest thing out of all of this is that you talk about it in public. I think that is the winner.
We're not.
It's not one of you two. It's the fact that you talk about it in public. That gets first place.
This is a funny story, and I have no shame. I have nothing to hide with people. You know, I'm very transparent. That's what people like.
I mean, clearly, yes. You have nothing to
Right.
hide.
Forget about
we have established that.
That third thing. Of the two, which one do you find weirder? It's not like I'm doing this in public. This is the privacy of my own home, trying to make somebody laugh.
Not
but she
anymore.
I'm not. Do you see my testicles on the screen? Audio people, spoiler, I'm not showing my testicles.
Dude,
Okay?
I'm sure if I visit you, you're gonna do this to me.
No, I don't. I've never done it to any other person other than Nikki because she deserves it because the vomiting. I do it like every other day now. Because of her reaction, it makes me want to do it more. Does that make sense to you on some level?
I mean, I feel like that's pretty harsh, man. If she feels sick from it, it's like your girlfriend gets seasick easily, and you're like, we're going on a boat again today.
She does get car sick very easily, actually. So I don't know how that relates to my balls, but you know.
Oh, maybe she loses like. It's because they're moving, so she loses track of.
syndereN, I feel like you're.
Okay,
not,
I'm stalling?
Yeah, you're. So 1 out of 10 of weirdness for each.
I mean, they're both 10.
You have to pick one. You have to pick one, syndereN.
Dude, how am I supposed to pick between that? Okay, hers.
We're not
is
ending
weirder.
this up. Oh yes.
It's weirder. It's weirder that she's about to. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. The reason it's weirder is not because that was her reaction. It's because she reacts that way every time. If it was just a one-time thing, you did it the first time, and she was like getting sick from it, I'd be like, okay, that's But if she literally cannot get used to it, and you can do this consistently, and she is about to throw up every time,
okay,
that's really weird.
Hold on. We've never done this.
Are you
going to
go test it now?
Would you like to tell the story that you think is true?
Describe it.
Oh, well, she says she doesn't want to describe. I've described enough.
What a surprise.
Come over here and just tell. It'll be 20 seconds of your life, and then we can end this episode.
Okay, I clarified.
No. You're going to come talk into the microphone.
I don't want to be on the camera.
You don't want to be. Okay, so I'm going to relay this message. Go ahead.
I mean, you can kind of hear me, right?
Can you hear her, syndereN?
Maybe the
Yeah, a bit.
might not.
Get closer.
Oh my god.
Speak louder. Please hurry.
I'm just gonna stand on the other side. You suck.
Boy. All right, she's going to talk into the mic on the other side of the desk.
Oh, she walked through the shot. Oh no.
Right, so don't mess with me. No. So I don't get grossed out because he's showing me his balls. He doesn't go into detail with how he pulls it out, which is why you need to kind of watch the show or the movie, because he squeezes it out of his the hole in his pajamas, and then what's the term that they use in the movies? Like, it's not turtling or whatever, but it's like it looks like a weird brain thing coming out of his pajamas. I don't know how to describe. What?
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it looks really weird.
All right, so her excuse is that it looks weird because there's no penis showing. It's just
we're
a brain.
still looking for sponsors for the podcast, by the way. If you want to get on board, just let us know. We think we could promote your products really well.
Plenty of sponsors will be lining up after this episode.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so does that change your opinion before we wrap this up?
No, it's the same thing. I kind of interpreted it that way from the start. That
yes, that's what I thought.
It was not the sight of your testicles that got her sick. It was the thing you did with them. But the fact that she gets a vomiting reflex every time is really weird. You'd think at some point you'd just get over it, and be like, okay, he's doing that shit again.
It's just every time.
But
it never gets old.
It's like
apparently.
a reflex.
Yeah,
it sounds like it's a reflex. It's really fascinating. Actually.
I would highly recommend for people out there and for you, syndereN, to watch the movie Waiting, and then try it on your significant others as well, and get back to me. Okay?
My significant others.
Well, I meant that for everybody. But yeah, if you have more than one person that is a significant other, then by all means. Okay.
This is Denmark. Okay.
So that'll do it for this episode of.
We have one here.
We Say Things. I don't know what that means, syndereN. What is that supposed to mean?
That there are other countries where you can have more than one girlfriend at a time, and it's more standard.
Yes, that's true.
In
especially
Denmark,
in esports.
I mean, you also can. I mean, you can have, if there are relationships like that, but it's not so common in Denmark, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. All right, so that does it for this episode of We Say Things. Thank you for watching. Remember, next week will be at a different time, 12 p.m., a.k.a. noon PDT, and 21 CEST live on Twitch.
On the 25th.
Correct. Thank you for joining us, everybody. It's been a real pleasure. Let us know about your stories, okay? We would love to share that with the world. Until next time, SUNSfan and syndereN signing out. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.